Hey, welcome back, everybody. Greg Wortko with GreenIndustryPros.com. Thanks for coming back. Part 3 of our 3-part series on how to make a late-season fertilization program work. We've been joined and are joined again today by Bob Raley. He's an agronomist with Agrium Advanced Technologies. They're a leading manufacturer and marketer of controlled-release fertilizers and micronutrients, and you can learn more about Agrium by visiting their website, agriumat.com. How you doing today, Bob? It's been a fun series we've been putting together here.
Yeah, this has been pretty great, and I'm doing real well. Thanks, Greg.
Very good. And we've been talking about enhanced efficiency fertilizers. That's a term that's being adopted more liberally out in the market. And the good news is enhanced efficiency fertilizers comprised of a variety of products like controlled release fertilizers that have been out on the market a long time and are proven to work. Agrium is an example of a supplier of those types of products. We're going to talk today about making a late-season fertilization program work, specifically with controlled release fertilizers such as Agrium's Duration product. Now, Bob, I've been hearing a lot about late-season fertilization, maybe otherwise known as dormant fertilization. Are these really the same thing, or is there a difference?
Right, and it's funny to me that we have two terms that clearly don't seem like they mean the same thing, yet I think they sort of do.
Okay.
Dormant fertilization is probably an older term that maybe is a little less descriptive than it should be. I kind of like the term late season fertilization, or up here in the Northeast we call it late fall fertilization. But the goal is, and yeah, they are basically the same thing.
Okay.
But the goal is to get a fertilizer application down in the time period in which turf top growth, foliar growth, has pretty much stopped.
Okay.
But the plant's still green, and the ground isn't yet frozen. So you can see it's a very short window of time there, and that's why it's that late season. You got to find that moment in time where no more top growth, but the plant is still actively. It's not dormant, right? So that's why I think dormant's probably a bad term. But it doesn't. We are talking about the same process.
Gotcha. And just to recap from our the second installment of this series, we're talking about controlled release fertilizers and how they're designed to begin to slowly, in a controlled fashion, hence the name controlled release, but to slowly release nutrients once that soil temperature reaches a certain point, which is why it can be effective to put these types of products down in the late season, because you're not going to have any nutrient loss until spring when the soil temperatures warm up. Do I have that correct, Bob?
Yeah, I think you're saying that the right way, and I think that's why late season fertilization has it's been around for a long time, but maybe lost a little momentum for a while because guys were making applications of a soluble fertilizer at that time period.
Okay.
Well, if it's soluble, you have the opportunity for some plant uptake, but what wasn't taken up by the plant had the ability to be lost to the environment through leaching. And there were some studies done that showed that there was a pretty high likelihood of substantial losses to the environment with a soluble fertilizer source applied late fall. So I think that's maybe why it fell out of favor for a while. But with controlled release fertilizers, polymer-coated ureas, we can essentially eliminate that concern. So we can take now that we've addressed the environmental concern, we can reap the agronomic benefits again, because we have a product that won't hurt the environment but will still do what we want to do agronomically.
You bet. And in my second question here, sounds like you've already answered it, but do you think lawn care operators and their customers, homeowners, should be considering late season fertilization?
I do. I really do. I think there are a lot of agronomic benefits. I mean, we can talk about an earlier green up in the spring if you get a good late season application down. There's some science that says you can store carbohydrates and with fall applications and make the plant a little bit healthier coming into the spring. And if you do get that uptake in the fall, you don't get foliar growth. From a logistics standpoint, boy, it's nice to get that first spring app out of the way the fall before. You know, sometimes you're super busy in the spring, and it's difficult to get out. So there's a lot of reasons to pursue that. But the key is to make sure you're using a nitrogen source that is environmentally appropriate and agronomically beneficial. So if you came to me and said, should a lawn care operator use a urea product or an ammonium sulfate product for a late fall application, I'd say, Greg, I think that's a bad idea.
Okay.
So you really, the key in making this work is tying in a controlled release fertilizer, because you can minimize your negative impacts on the environment and still get those agronomic benefits.
You bet. And you hit on a couple of the benefits. You know, you can get a nice green up in the spring and some of the other things you mentioned. Let's talk a little bit about some of the research. I've heard there's quite a bit of research going on right now with regards to late season fertilization. Can you talk a little bit about what some of this research is starting to show?
You bet. We're really excited. You know, it's one of the reasons I really love working for Agrium Advanced Technologies is our dedication to research. We're putting a lot of resources behind our products and trying to find out all the right answers for these end users so that we make sure our products are being used in the appropriate way. We have research projects on fall applications in Tennessee, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Michigan. I mean, we're really spreading out to look at these products.
Sure.
And what we've seen is so far is that nice slowdown of maybe a green up in the fall after the application without a lot of top growth associated with it.
Okay.
We're seeing the products shut down release, and we're seeing things go dormant in the winter, which is what we want to see. And then most importantly, in that springtime, we're seeing the green up come back and the plant response earlier than those areas that weren't fertilized. So we're seeing some real benefits in the spring as well.
Okay. And you had mentioned it I think it was in part 2, you know, talking about the timing. The timing is so critical when you get this type of product, a controlled release fertilizer, down. I know it's going to vary by region, but can you provide at all any benchmarks or tips on when contractors would want to get this type of product down?
Right. Well, and that's the beauty of a fall application. What benefits the plant agronomically also fits into most guys' calendars really, really well. So you're looking at a product that you're going to want to make this fall application with a polymer-coated product or controlled release fertilizer. You're going to want to make that application when, you know, the leaf cleanup's over.
Okay.
You know, again, before the ground freezes, but when mowing has stopped.
Okay.
So, you know, where I am here in the, you know, I live in Maryland, the Pennsylvania area, that's probably right now is a great time, as a matter of fact. So, which is, you know, we're recording this probably ahead of time, but for me, this is, you know, middle of November.
Sure. So still time for a lot of guys around the country to make this happen, and that's good news, because like you said, now is kind of where things really slow down. It's another service they can sell, put some more money on the books to close this year, and then they can head into spring when they're so busy doing so many different things, put a little more focus on some of those other tasks that they have to deal with in the spring.
No question, and I get a little bit excited about this opportunity because not too long ago I was a golf course superintendent.
Okay.
And the benefits of doing this work in the fall are huge because the spring is such a busy time. So if we can find a program that's agronomically good, you know, it's good for the plant, it makes sense for the plant, and it fits into our schedules really well, boy, that's just a win-win, and that's what I see with this fall fertilization. I can't tell you how many people I know would love to have that month of March and early April open to do other things than trying to worry about getting that first application out.
You bet. No, when you can find a product or a service that works from the contractor's, you know, business vantage point and also the environment's vantage point and the consumers, that's a win-win-win. You can't beat that. So
that's right.
Good. Well, we appreciate everything you've shared with us here, Bob. I know you're a busy guy and really do appreciate you making time for us. You've shared a lot of valuable information. And again, listeners, for some more information on Agrium Advanced Technologies and their product lineup, visit agriumat.com. If you have any questions or comments about this podcast series, send an email to editor@greenindustrypros.com. we'll compile those and maybe get Bob back here in a few months if we have some more topics our listeners are interested in learning more about, because you've been a real big help, Bob. We do appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg. This was great, and I sure do hope you invite me back.
You bet. Have a good one, everybody.